to share with you one of the great and good unique feature of Xero, which is tracking categories. So for those of you who are not yet familiar with this feature of Xero, tracking categories allows your business to be segmented or to be divided into different parts of your organization. So you can make your quality decisions about parts of your businesses. So our learning objectives for this afternoon, we will discuss the use and the process of creating tracking categories. We will also discuss the advantage and disadvantages of using the tracking categories. So how can this be helpful to you in your profit and loss reporting and in your business? So the use of tracking category is really to segment your business into different categories. The main purpose of this is to check the profitability per category. So if you are using other reports, if you're exporting the reports to Excel to segment your business, then this one is for you. You can maximize the use of Xero by using tracking categories to segment your business. So if you have cost centers, if you have other product lines, if you have departments, if you have branches under one business organization, then you can use tracking category to segment your organization into those categories, into those segments and reportings. So how are we going to use the tracking category? Let me share with you the Xero organization. From Xero, you need to set up first the tracking categories. So from accounting, you need to go to advanced, and from advanced, you need to go to tracking category. So what we are going to do right now is just a setup. I am using a demo company right now. So there is already a setup for the first tracking category. So in this demo organization, the tracking category is per region. So let's assume that these regions are the branches of the company. So let's create another tracking category, which is about the departments or the cost centers. For this one, let's categorize it into accounting, into HR, into operations. So you can add as many tracking options, as many category options as you want, up to 100. And you can set up tracking categories up to 2. So once we already set up the tracking categories, let's click Save. So we have here 2 tracking categories now. We have the region and we have the departments. So once we already set up the tracking category, we can now proceed on the data recording. So the data recording comes as usual. You can record the sales, the purchases, bank transaction, journal entries, fixed asset reportings, and input a tracking category. So for this one, let me give you an example. So I will set up a sales transaction and insert tracking categories. So for this one, this is just test data. So as you can see here, there's already 2 tracking categories. One is for region and the other is for the department. So we have to choose which tracking options or which regions does this transaction belongs to. Same goes with the department. Okay. So once you completed this, you just click approve. So this is just the usual data entry in Xero. So the same goes with the bills and with the other parts of accounting, with the bank accounts and manual journal. So what I'm going to share with you instead, aside from these features or these patterns of Xero, is the fixed asset. So in the fixed asset, this is something different from what I shared with you in the invoice setup. So in the fixed asset, once you record the transaction in the bills, so it will push through in the fixed asset module. So in the fixed asset module, you have to go to draft and you have to register the fixed asset first, right? So here, there is another option for you to insert the region and the departments, so that later on, when you run the depreciation, the categories of those assets will be recognized. So in this one, let's set up the tracking categories for the region and the departments. Then let's add their fixed asset information. So once we're done with that, let's register the fixed asset. And once everything is registered, we run the depreciation. And then once we run the depreciation, the information, the tracking categories will be recognized as well. So how will this be useful to you? Let's say we already reported all the transactions from up until month end. So the next thing we need to do is to check whether all the information were recorded in the proper tracking category. So for that, we have to go to reports and we go to profit and loss. So currently I am presenting to you the old format of Xero, but if you are more comfortable in using the new format, then that's fine as well. So what are we going to do next is to compare it by region. This is the first tracking category. So as you can see as well, there is this tracking categories per region, the east side, the north, and the south. And there is this unassigned. So this unassigned means that there are transactions in Xero that are not yet assigned to the particular regions. So when you click over the amount, you will be prompted on the list of transactions that are not yet categorized. So you have two options on how are you going to categorize it in the correct region or tracking category. So first is manually by going directly into the transaction and manually edit the transaction. You can see here that there's no region and department. So you can manually edit the transaction, then add the region and the departments. So this is the manual way. Another option for you is to use the find and decode. So in the find and decode feature, this is another feature of Xero that can be useful to you to make your work efficient and faster. So in the find and decode, you just have to filter the conditions. What are you looking for and what are your conditions? So once you filter that out, let's say region and then unassigned. So you just have to run it. And then from there, you just have to choose which transactions you can group to specific accounts. Let's say these 4 transactions are pertaining to East Side region. So as you can see here, what I did is I click the recode and then I click add. And let's say I will add again another department and then I click operations. So after this, it will be grouped into those category options that I have selected. So afterwards, you can refresh this profit and loss report, then the information will be updated. So you do this pattern until all the information from the unassigned will be completely eliminated. So there are 2 ways for you to remove or to assign those transactions that are in this column, right? So this is how you do the tracking categories. So let's discuss the advantages of using the tracking categories. So number 1 is cost effective. As compared to other platforms, Xero uses tracking category and it is inclusive in your Xero subscription. So meaning this is part of what you have paid for in the subscription and you can maximize these tracking categories at your advantage. The second one is the effective segmenting of profit and loss reports. So meaning you can group those transactions, you can group those items, you can group those events or transactions that you have recorded in Xero into the proper segments or departments or cost centers or the items that tag your business. So you can run the profitability at your comfort and you can see, you can make quality decisions based on those information. So of course, with advantages comes the limitations. Number 1 limitation of Xero tracking category is the number of categories and options. So currently, you can only perform tracking categories up to 2. So when we go back to Xero and let's add another tracking category, it will prompt you to delete or archive one of the current tracking category you have. And also, not only that, the tracking options is also limited to 100 per tracking category, right? So the next is the segmenting of pay run report and accounts. So currently, Xero pay run cannot be grouped into tracking categories and options. So we do hope that in the next upgrade of Xero, So the parent report can be grouped into tracking categories. But right now, this is not yet available. So what can you do when you use your parent report and you wanted to segment all the profit and loss transaction? So the option available to you is to create a manual journal, right? So in your manual journal, you will create a transaction. Let's say tracking of salaries and wages. So you will select those transactions under the parent. And then on the other hand, what are you going to do is to reverse. Let's say you have a parent of 100,000. So you will reverse it without the tracking category and you will debit the transaction now with the tracking category. What will it do? It will reverse your transaction in the parent without the region and it will create a new transaction with the region. So this is the workaround procedure you can have to address this limitation of segmenting of payroll report and accounts. So another limitation of tracking category is that we don't recommend it to do the costing for projects. So if you wanted to check the profitability per project, then that's possible. Then you can use the tracking category. But if you wanted to check the costing, if you wanted to get how much you can charge the client based on the cost and your expenses on that project, then we don't recommend tracking categories to you. But instead, you can have another feature of Xero, which is the Xero projects, right? So with this information, advantages, and the uses of tracking category, I am confident that you will be able to maximize another feature of Xero. So that's it for me. Thank you.